Welcome. Any questions about the last session that we had on designing a program? Any thoughts? Any queries? Okay, so if no questions, then somebody wants to say something. Okay, so today's topic of discussion, as I had mentioned last time also, is on facilitation skills. So if I may ask you, what exactly do we mean by facilitation skills? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what exactly we mean by facilitation skills?
I think
Methods which help.
yeah, I think it's about how you organize a group and how you manage it, how you facilitate them to get into some decision making and all that.
So that's probably a broader term that you're talking about. That is also perfectly all right. But in the context of the topic that we are, or the program that we are running, so this is a master trainer program. So why do you think we need to talk about facilitation?
We need to know how we are going to train the group of people under us.
Absolutely.
What's the
That means the
method?
whole idea of the program is, this particular session is that let's learn what exactly is facilitation. How do we do it? What are the challenges that we might, experience? And
Ideas.
and how do you prepare yourself for that kind of a, setup, and what are the skills required? So we will try to understand, because see, we all are doing training and teaching. If you are in a medical college, I'm sure you're already doing teaching to the students. But then a lot of time we see we are not able to engage the students, or students get, they get distracted, or they don't, take it seriously. So as a teacher, as a trainer, as a facilitator, how do you engage your audience? That is something we are going to, learn in this. And this is not only for the trainers program that you are going to do in future, but even otherwise. For example, your presentations in the conference, you will see some presenters are really very good. They really are able to engage their audience, create interest, and do the whole thing in a very, very smart manner. But some of us just go and present and then come back, and then we have a feeling we did so much of preparation, but we could not engage the audience. So even in your CMAs, in your medical education program, in your overall, even teaching and training your own staff members, with whom you have to kind of, help them learn new skills. So, Dr. Mini, can I request you to put your device on the mute mode? Yeah. So the whole idea is that we will get an idea, how do you really make your program interesting, and also, do it in a very professional manner. So another question that I wish to ask you, what is the difference between facilitation and teaching? What is the difference? Is there a difference? Is it same?
Teaching is from one side.
One way, and the other one is
proactive.
Okay.
Bilateral.
So it is one way. That is one thing you said. It is because usually it is a teacher who is teaching, or the trainer who is speaking. Yes, I agree. Yes, Dr. Deepa, I think you wish to say something.
Facilitation is stimulate learning.
It's stimulate.
That is mainly we help them learn. We are not teaching them, but we help them learn by themselves.
I think that's also a good explanation. Anybody else who would like to?
In teaching, we impart knowledge. In facilitating, we get a team. We create something. We have a goal.
So I think in both the strategies, whether teaching or facilitation, the idea is to impart knowledge, but it is done differently. It is done differently.
Symbiotic.
Sorry?
Symbiotic. That is, you learn also something from them.
Yeah.
And, we impart some knowledge, and we learn from the course.
Yeah. And it's two-way kind of a thing. Thank you. I think that's another good point. What do others say? Dr. Rafiq,
In facilitation, We
Yeah.
just direct them to the resources. It's more of self-learning.
Yeah.
Whereas in teaching, it's more as
Absolutely.
didactic.
Yeah. And in teaching, probably the knowledge differential is very high. The person who comes as a teacher would know the subject, but mostly the audience, pupils or students or participants, they are just attending because they even lack the basic understanding of the concept sometimes. So that's more like a teaching. Whereas in facilitation, it's like we are having a session here. You all already have a set of knowledge, understanding, experience, but by discussing and brainstorming and giving our new thoughts and opinions, we all are learning from that experience. So let me show you the presentation, and then we have a discussion, and then there will be certain activities that we'll be doing simultaneously. So as I said, today's session is all about facilitation. So we do understand that facilitation is different from, one second. From teaching and training, because here we are mostly dealing with adult audience. We are dealing with people who already have a set of knowledge, set of experience. So we are utilizing that background, and we are trying to create an environment where learners become interested to discover, acquire, retain, and apply the knowledge and skill. So the whole idea of facilitation is that learners already have a set of knowledge and set of understanding. So you just try to help them discover new ideas around the same thing. The difference between teaching and facilitation, most of it here has been covered by you. Learning is passive in teaching. There is no place for illogical ideas. I mean, anytime if the student says something wrong, teacher stops and says, "Oh, this is not, what you are saying. That's not going to work." And as mentioned by some of you, that it is directed and it is controlled by somebody who has knowledge and expertise or subject knowledge. And in teaching, normally teacher is separate from the learner because the knowledge differential is very high. So naturally it gives a authority position to the teacher. And then learning is through fixed course material. This is what we are here to cover. This is what we are going to learn. And that's how we kind of proceed, focusing on the content or the subject that needs to be covered or material that needs to be covered. And teaching is mostly about the academic subjects. Whereas facilitation is somewhere everybody's actively participating because there's a learning both ways. All ideas are appreciated because there's always some element of truth in every statement that comes from the participants. Then learning is through participation, there everybody participates in a manner so that brings kind of more and more an understanding or the deeper understanding. Then facilitator is part of the group. The teacher or the facilitator in this role is not a separate person. It is one of the team members. And the experiences of the learners are valued. And we know that everybody comes with some knowledge, with some understanding, with some experience, and that's really valued for the purpose of learning. And facilitation is usually experiential or experience based, because we believe that whatever experience we have, if we bring it together, we learn something new out of the same situation. So I think Socrates, this statement that we cannot teach anybody anything, we can only facilitate their learning by making them think, really fits for this definition of facilitation. And I think that's what works the best, especially with the adult audience, educated audience. You cannot sit and teach them anything. You just can put the ideas across and give them a time to assimilate and kind of accept or apply it. So facilitator would facilitate the learning by arranging the content and delivery in a manner. So it's not that, okay, facilitator also has no idea and is just sitting and kind of asking questions, would have a set of, knowledge or skill or some information to be imparted. But the delivery is done in such a manner which fosters curiosity, interest, and discussion and reflection. And then at the right point of time, the facilitator will give the information in such a manner that it kind of integrates with the existing knowledge or understanding, and it enhances the learning of the participant. So going further, one second. So at this point, understanding how is adult learning different from the other age groups will help us, you know, facilitating this session in a more effective manner. So, for example, okay, if I ask you, how is it different from regular, learning or teaching? How is adult learning different? Can you think of the
Ideas are already set.
Okay, they already have a set of ideas are set, opinions are also set.
Yes.
Absolutely, I agree. What do others say? Yes, go ahead. please.
Self-directed.
Some amount of unlearning also is needed, not learning alone.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Some amount of unlearning also would be needed before the learning.
Wow, excellent. So some amount of unlearning is needed, and we all know unlearning is very difficult. It's not that easy. Unless you are really willing to unlearn, it becomes very difficult to actually help people unlearn. And knowing this will give us this satisfaction that okay, things will not happen suddenly. It will take some time. Thank you for adding that point. Yes,
They
Dr.
have-
Dr.
They
Deepa,
have
so
preconceived ideas.
they have preconceived ideas because they have a set of some mental frames that they refer. So
That
they
already set mindset.
they have a mind. Dr. Deepa,
Self-directed.
you were saying something.
Self-directed.
It is self-directed. You cannot force them. It is self-directed. Yes, agree. What do others say?
Learning is directed by need of understanding.
Wow. So that means the adults would learn only if they think I need to learn, or if they think it is going to help me, or it is beneficial, only then it will learn. Wonderful. I think that's another very good point. Thank you.
Can't force them.
You cannot force them. Absolutely. Absolutely.
They learn at their own pace.
Oh, wonderful. They learn at their own pace because everybody is different from, others. So we all have our own way of learning and, putting things in place. So they have their own pace. Absolutely. Thank you for adding that point. What more points can you add?
Only need-based learning.
That means if they think they need, they will learn. Otherwise, they will not learn. All their life, they will not learn. They will just say, even at home, you must have seen, if you ask them to learn computers, I mean, if I talk about our parents or elderly at home, if you tell them learn this, they will not learn. But the day they feel that, yes, I need to learn, then they will put in all efforts to learn. So let me give you two acronyms that will help you to remember that adult learning is different from the regular people. So can you tell me the difference between awareness and consciousness? What is the difference between awareness and consciousness?
Awareness is just
Awareness.
having heard about it and just know something about it.
Awareness is just knowing something,
Knowing
okay?
something. Conscious means you have somehow understood it, analyzed it to some extent, that you've incorporated into it to yourself, some amount of the facts.
You have
Okay.
to apply it. Consciousness means you have to apply the awareness.
Somehow I'm not able to see the
Awareness.
people who are answering. That's the yeah.
Consciousness.
Awareness is an intellectual thing,
Okay.
while consciousness is more or less we are alive, conscious oriented, maybe that way.
Applied awareness.
I don't know who
Person can
Consciousness.
be conscious but not aware. When you do not be aware.
Applying awareness is consciousness.
who said this application part. Who was saying?
Mini.
Okay. So exactly, I think that's what is the concept. Awareness is knowing. Consciousness is applying that knowledge. So if you will talk to adults, if you'll try telling them something, most of the time they will come up and say, I know this. I will learn this. We are doing it. They will also say we are doing it. But actually, there's a difference between awareness and consciousness. When you will actually see them working, they may not be actually applying those things. They may not be practicing what they know. So the first A, in adult A, is awareness versus consciousness. For example, we see a lot of time, pedestrian crossing, or we see school ahead, this poster. But how many of us really actually, stop or reduce our speed because it's a school or it's a zebra crossing? That is consciousness. We may know, but we may not apply. So some of us who smoke, we know smoking is injurious,
Yes.
but how many of us really remember this, or how many of us really care for it? Rash driving is not a good idea, we all know, but we see youngsters, doing the same. So that's the difference between awareness and consciousness. You know, but how much of it you really apply? So we all know that we need to treat our staff and subordinates with respect, but when it comes to actually working with them, how many of us are really mindful of this? That's a question to be asked. So when you will interact with your adult audience, you will see they will know most of the things. So you will have to actually admit right in the beginning, I'm not here to teach you something new. You already know it. But probably we are going to discuss its importance and see how we can use it. Okay. Then difference is in learning style. So if I may ask you, for example, if you have to go somewhere and you require directions. So some of us will prefer, tell me verbally, I can reach. Just tell me where do I have to go. I can do. Some of us will say, now of course we have GPS, we all immediately switch on GPS and we know the way. But I'm talking about otherwise, if you don't have the GPS facility, I mean, some of us would like to draw the roadmap. And okay, I go straight from here. Then after the third red light, I have to take a right. So for me, example, I have to draw and understand that's the thing. Some of us are okay. If you see GPS and you tell me, I'm okay with that. And then some would like to see the GPS themselves. For me, if somebody has the GPS in their hand, I'll say, because my husband and me, when we are going together, and if I am driving and he will say, okay, I'll hold the phone in my hand and I'll tell you when to take left or right, I say, no, I need to see because I'm a visual learner. So you all have undertaken that questionnaire that I sent you.
Yes.
All of you have done it? All of you have
Yes.
done it? So in that, there were three set of questions, A, B, and C. The answer A, B, and C. So if you had highest score on A, what exactly do you mean? How do we interpret that? Did you try? Anybody tried interpreting it?
No.
Oh, no problem. So what is the first question? Let's see, first question.
Visualizing, hearing, and feeling. These are the three differences.
Absolutely. All A are about visualizing. All B's are about hearing. And all C is about emotions. So those of you who had high score on A, you interact with the world visually. So you would like to see things. You will understand only when you are able to see things. If you have high score on B, anybody has high score on B? I saw some of the scores that you had put on the group. Most of you had either high A or high C, am I right?
Each
7A,
has been
7C,
tallied
and
separately,
1B.
right?
Or sometimes equal also.
7A, 7C, 1B.
7?
7A, 7C, 1B.
1B, exactly. So that shows we also connect with the world emotionally. We represent the world emotionally. We look at the world in an emotional manner. So each one of us interact with the world in a different manner. When you are designing a program, when you are facilitating a program, it's very important to integrate all senses. For example, if you are just using visual program, but if there's a person who enjoys auditory, stimulus or auditory input, they will not, understand much. Or for example, if you just go and deliver a verbal lecture and you don't have any audio visual with you, again, you will see your audience getting disengaged. A lot of time in between, you have to make your participants physically do some activity. Of course, in online, we are not able to do, but when I run my program on site, we do a couple of physical activities. So you are using their kinesthetic way of connecting with self and world. And in this particular questionnaire, we saw A lot of us enjoy when things have emotional component. So this tells you about yourself. How do you represent? How do you, interpret the world to yourself? Any question about this? So the whole idea of talking about this was that we need to remember that when we are, facilitating a program, we need to make sure that we involve or integrate all senses. More senses you will integrate, more engaging your session will be. So therefore, don't rely only on PPT or, just lecture. Have more and more audiovisual aids, interesting activities to engage your audience, to make your program, more impactful. Okay, so that was D. Third is.
So which is better, ma'am? Which
Yes.
is better? Actually, all three scores should be equal.
Sorry?
All three should be equal, actually. The
No,
scores.
No. It can be any way.
Okay.
It can be any way. It doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
Only thing is, this was just to help you all see that, some people are auditory learners. Some people are visual learners. Some people are kinesthetic learners. So we have to remember that when we design a program, when we facilitate a program, we should try to serve as many senses as possible. That will help you engage your audience. That was the idea, to tell you that adults, not only adults, children also learn differently. So we need to integrate all that. Yes, sir. You wish to say something? Go ahead, please.
I got this experiment is good, very nice. But does this questionnaire label us as one type? Can this questionnaire put us in one slot?
No.
Like, for example, if we have a lot of C, no.
No. That was just to give you an idea of.
Yeah.
See, none of these things are conclusive, How can such a simple, ordinary test define my sensory, interaction? But that was just to give you a feel that, like, I know for myself, I'm a visual learner. If I can't see anything, I can't learn. And I'll tell you how I learned the hard way. My husband would visit his friends who opened his new clinics and new hospitals and nursing homes. He will come home and tell me he has opened a clinic. The moment you enter, there is a reception on the right side. There's a waiting area on the left. Then just next to the waiting area, there's a consultant's chamber. And then the right side, there's a small investigation room. I would get frustrated. I mean, I would literally say, please, I don't want to listen. It's later on when I studied, further, I realized because I'm a visual learner. And now when I do couple therapy, I tell couples, a lot of conflicts are because when both husband and wife have different, dominant learning and interaction style, there can be conflict because of this. So therefore, have as many senses as possible so that you can serve maximum. That's the idea. Yes, Dr. Asha, you wish to ask something. Go ahead, please.
I was just saying that to summarize that the questionnaire, this thing was an experiment on ourselves to analyze ourselves. It was not one type of learning event. For some situations, we were verbal. For some situations, it was visual. For some, with feeling. So we ourselves have different type of learning for different scenarios. So we expect the crowd also to be having different type of scenarios. So as you said, rightly said, we'll have to incorporate all forms. Like you can't assess that one person is one type of learner alone.
So it was not that okay, that was just to give you a feel of yourself, and also give you an idea that, see, we 15 of us have different learning styles. Same way, when you will have your audience, they will have different learning styles. Especially in our country, we still do not rely much on auditory learning, And trust me, that is the reason when in schools, when teachers are just lecturing, students get disengaged. But when the same thing is done, whether it is maths or science, when it is done in a project manner or in an activity manner, students are able to remember better. And that's the idea, that we must integrate as many senses as possible. Okay. Now, the third point is unlearn slowly. Adults actually unlearn slowly. So how many of you use your right hand for writing? All of you? Okay. So write your name in your notebook with your right hand. Is somebody's video off? Because I can see only 14 of us. Am I right?
Yeah, two are off.
Dr.
Yeah.
Nambiar is off.
I don't know what.
Sir, please have your video on. We would like to see you. If you are comfortable. Good, thank you. So now write your name with left hand. With the non-dominant hand. Was it easy? Difficult?
You need practice.
Need a lot of practice. And if I ask you to write only with your left hand, will it be not? So we take time to unlearn something. And that's what somebody had already mentioned, that adults take time to unlearn. So we have to really act very patient when we are, dealing with adults, because don't expect, if you tell them something, don't expect them to start implementing it, as it is. That is why most of the time training programs and skill enhancement program fail, because once you have imparted the knowledge, imparted the understanding, they actually require hand holding. So when you teach them 7 steps of washing hands, or when you teach them handling biomedical waste, just by telling that this is the way to manage biomedical waste, they will not follow your instructions, or they will not follow the procedure. In hospital setting, you must be saying that you tell a particular way of doing something, or we have SOPs, standard operating procedures. You try to teach your team or your subordinates that this is the way you are supposed to do, but they would do the way they have learned it, because unlearning is very difficult. Children learn easily because they don't have any preconceived notion. So whatever you teach them, but with adults, the problem is they already have a set knowledge, set practice. So it becomes very difficult for them to unlearn. So how many of you still prefer, paper book or hard book over the e-book?
Me.
So if somebody gives you an e-book, do you find it easy to open and read? No.
I prefer paper book.
Same here. That is one of the reasons why I sometimes, if I carry book, it becomes too much for me to handle. And if I don't carry book, I can't read anything. But yes, I think in the time to come, we will slowly be moving to the e-book, because it's very easy to read the books. Also, how many of you are used to PPT as a way of teaching? All of you. And now if I say, don't use PPT and just deliver the lecture, can you do it? It will take, you will require a lot of effort. So if we know this, that they will take time to unlearn, we will be more patient with our, with our staff members, with our team members, because we will know it's not easy. You can sit and give lecture, but when it comes to actually applying, like there's a saying, old habits die hard. They'll take time to unlearn. The second thing is adults like to share their experience. You can only engage them if you are able to, make them speak or talk about their experience or share their experience. And then they take time to change. As we said, they'll take time to unlearn, and then they'll take time to learn. So they will take time to change. So if I join ADULT, so please remember, this is an acronym for adult learning. That is, A is awareness versus consciousness. D is difference in learning style. U is unlearn slowly. L is like to share their experience, and T is they take time to change. So if you'll remember this, you will remember that, okay, when I plan my program and I facilitate program, these are the things I have to keep in mind. There's another acronym which will help us understand adult learning, and that is called concept of HUMDA, HUMDA. HUMDA is an acronym. So when you share some information with adults, they will not take it as it is, or they will not apply as it is. I'm sure when you interact with me, after you hear me, even if you understand the concept, you will still think it over. You will still kind of contemplate, will this work? What challenges will I have? Is it really possible? So that means you will not just as it is taken and try to apply it. You will actually analyze about its effectivity or utility. And then once if you are, kind of convinced or you're okay, you will accept it, you will digest it, and then you will apply. So they will hear, they will understand, they will meditate, they will digest, and then they will apply. So this is HUMDA. This concept again should help us learn to be patient when we are dealing with adult audience. With children, they'll immediately pick up. Whatever you say, they'll blindly take what you say. They'll trust you so much, they'll go home and even fight with their parent. No, my teacher has taught me this. This is the right way of doing this. You don't know how to do it. But with adults, that's not the thing. So again, it teaches us to be patient when we have adult audience. So while facilitating, please remember, don't expect immediate application of what you are teaching them or what you are sharing with them. So this was in nutshell about, adult learning, certain principles that will further help you. And actually, most of it you have already covered. For example, adults should understand the purpose of the program. Somebody said that they need to know why I need to learn. So whenever you facilitate a program, to start with, if you are able to answer this question, trust me, you will be able to engage them. So usually when I start this session, I ask you, why do we need to learn facilitation skills? Why do we need to learn this topic? So immediately you will have this, okay, I have to do trainings. I'm going to become a trainer. I'm going to use it in my CMEs. So you will know, okay, this is the purpose why I'm learning it. So the moment you will know the purpose, you also understand what is in it for me. WIIIF.
Or WII.
You have to always remember, if you can integrate that right in the introduction, you will have the audience on your side. WIIIFM. What is in it for me?
For me.
Second point is, if you can create a need to learn, then you can engage your audience. So when you talk about what is happening and how that can be changed without doing any blame game, without finding fault, if you are able to create a need to learn. So I think one of the reasons why I have been able to, deliver so many programs is because I never blame my audience for the existing situation. I always put it that we haven't learned it, so we don't know. We need to learn it because now people want us to, communicate or to explain or involve them in decision making. They want to participate. So when you are able to create a need to learn, it could be that we want to avoid violence. It could be because we want to enjoy our work. It could be want to create patient satisfaction. It could be because we want patient safety. All those could be the needs to learn. But then you have to be able to create that need in your audience to help them learn. Then, as I said earlier also, engaging is very important. If you are not able to engage, then you don't have their 100% participation. Then it will be more like you're pushing them. That's not workable. That's not doable. It has to be a voluntary kind of a, participation. So for that, make sure that the climate is friendly and informal. So if the environment is friendly and informal, usually people feel relaxed, they feel connected, they feel respected, they feel like participating. As I said earlier also, adult audience, mostly educated, well placed, doing well. To make them learn, that means you really have to connect well with them. So make sure that you are able to create that friendly and informal environment. And then relating and acknowledging their experience will make them interested. So whatever background they come from, I'm sure they'll have something to contribute. If you can integrate that in your section, in your program, they'll be very, very happy and they'll engage also. And then you need to be thorough with this subject knowledge and training pedagogies if you want to be a really successful facilitator. Try new techniques, try new pedagogies, try new ways to engage your audience. And you have to be thorough with your subject knowledge. Because in every program, initially your audience is going to judge you. Your audience is going to be skeptical about your ability, your training ability, your subject knowledge. Trust takes time. People will take time to trust you. People will take time to even believe that, okay, this makes sense or this is going to help me. So you have to be really, and they may ask you sometimes questions that can be more like, challenging or disputing your opinion. So you have to be really thorough with your subject knowledge. Now, coming to some of the key facilitation skills that will help you to be an effective trainer. So if I may ask you, as a trainer, what do you think, what skills will help you? Write in the chat box. What skills will help you to be an effective trainer or facilitator for that matter? I can see some answers. Wow, active listening, wonderful. Storyteller, very good. Learn more pedagogies. Friendly, communication skills. Dr. Rakhi, are you requesting to record this meeting? Is it by chance you have pressed the button? Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. I thought you want to record it. As it is, I share the recording with all of you. Okay. So body language and voice modulation, wonderful. Sense of humor, excellent. I think that was one point I had on my mind. Know your audience, absolutely. Appearance, yes. Creativity, helpful with queries. Ability to hold the audience live throughout. Unauthoritative. Change of pace, tone audible, understand the audience, to hold attention of the audience, smile and include activity. Excellent. I think you have covered almost everything that I would have covered. So I am going to give you a couple of skills right now. And then towards the end, okay, respectful. Absolutely. I think that's very important because anywhere if you sound little arrogant or disrespectful, you may actually spoil your well-run program. So it's very important to, demonstrate, respect for every participant because they all come from their own, respective places and they are doing well. So we have to really keep that in mind when we are doing. And there's one more reply. Okay. So as I said, the some of the key skills that will help you in, effectively facilitating the program. One of them is, first of all, is one second, I'm not able to read. Okay. Active listening. And Dr. Paul had mentioned active listening. Incidentally, we say that we are an active listener, but a lot of time we lose contact with the reality. So you will see people who pretend to be listening. They may look that they are listening, but actually they are not listening. Then there are those who don't care to listen. I mean, you can make out that they are not listening. Then there are those who are in hurry to answer. And then there are those who are actually interested in listening. So as a facilitator, it's a very important quality because one, when you ask a question, very few people will get ready to speak. Over and above that, if you are not listening to them and if you are not acknowledging their answers, trust me, even they will lose interest and then you will have difficulty engaging them. So it's very important to listen to them very attentively and also reciprocate or acknowledge what they're saying. This is one questionnaire that I want you to read. Is it readable? Is it readable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if you see, there are 7 levels of listening. Level 1 is when you are not listening. So that when somebody is speaking, maybe one of your participants is trying to say something, but you're just not paying attention. Second, I think worse than that will be pretending to be listening. So when you pretend to be listening, actually it's visible on your face that you are not listening. So it's again a very dangerous thing. Another listening is partially listening when you are attending to 2 things at the same time. There is a risk that you are giving a divided attention. So you will not actually get the real message. But all these 3 styles of listening are not required. In facilitating, as a facilitator, I think we need to have a very clear focus. When you have asked a question, when a participant is answering, please listen to that participant clearly. Agree or don't agree, answer right or wrong, it doesn't make a difference. But demonstrating that, yes, I'm listening to is very important. So that gives the person that confidence that, okay, I am being heard. And then, of course, interpretive listening, where you actually try to understand what exactly the respondent is trying to tell. Even if, for example, you don't understand, asking that, can you make it, can you elaborate? Can you explain it further? That shows that you are trying to find a meaning of what the person has said. Then, of course, is interactive listening, where actually both the people get engaged and they listen and speak. And then engaged listening is when you're fully engaged in the communication and you are not only understanding the words that the person is saying, but you're also able to feel read the feelings or the interpretation or the values that are coming up. So all that, I mean, these are these different 7 levels of listening. If you can practice the last 4, that is focused listening, interpretive listening, interactive listening, and engaged listening, you will see your audience will get engaged with you. So this questionnaire that I am sharing with you, this is about listening bad habits. So some of us, although we think we are a good listener, but honestly, if you will read at this, a lot of things we are doing, not realizing that they are not good practices. So I would ask you to read this and put a tick mark in your copy, and then at the end count the total number of either the tally mark or the tick mark, and see how many things you tick mark. Is the task clear to everyone? Okay. And once you have done it, write the score in the chat box. Try to do it as honestly as possible.
So now how do you write the score?
Count the total number of tally marks that you have ticked.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There are 10. There are 10 statements. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you mark it?
So you just have to count the total number of tick marks. So if whatever, like for example, the first one is I interrupt often or try to finish the other person's sentence. If you think yes, I do it, then that becomes first 1 tally mark. And then same way.
Do we need to remember what we did, or we just count?
So just the count, just the count. So for out of 10, if, for example, if you have tick mark 6, statements, that means, we have to really work on ourselves. That's the idea. You can write your answer in the chat box. See, more than the telemarks or the total score, the whole idea of these statements is that we often do these things and we don't even know that they actually interfere with the interaction. Now, for example, a lot of us have a habit of finishing the other person's sentences. Has somebody given, so sorry, my chat was not responding. I thought nobody has responded. Oh, yes. Okay. 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 5, 5, 4, 6, 3, 2, 6, 4, 4. So you have an idea now about yourself, that these are the things I do. And actually, these are the things not to be done. So has somebody joined with 2 devices? There's an echo in between. Is it disturbing you also, or it's disturbing me only?
No disturbance.
Okay. So this is just to give you an idea that we say that I am listening, but these are the common mistakes we do when we are listening, and how this can interfere with, participation of your audience. Yes, Dr. Paul, go ahead, please.
I didn't understand the third one.
Third one is, I'm often overly parental and answer with advice even when not requested. You know what happens? Somehow we have a tendency to over-explain things. Or even if somebody has not asked for an advice, we start advising. So if we have this habit, that means what is not required, we are going beyond that. So listening is, we want the other person to speak and we listen and interpret. But for example, I'm discussing something with you, you are answering, and I take your answer and then I start elaborating on it. Does that make sense? Dr. Paul, is
yes. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Acha, please go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to tell Paul that was exactly the point I noted, which I need to improve on. I had not realized that was a bad habit. I just realized that I'm overdoing it.
It happens. It often happens that we kind of, we ask a question, somebody says something, and then we start elaborating on it, not realizing that we are taking the opportunity from the other person to speak. Thank you for adding that point. Thank you. So that's what I said, that we don't sometimes even know that that's not a good habit. That's not a good practice. Okay. Yes, Dr. Tanzil, go ahead, please.
Actually, I am a compulsive note taker. I think I need to have a visual orientation also along with what I am here. So how would I can't imagine what is wrong with it. Can you explain?
Okay. So I'll give you an example. So like, for example, if I'm interacting with you and you are telling me something very important, but I immediately pick up my notebook and I start noting. One, it can make the other person uncomfortable. Oh, my points are being noted. And I don't even seek permission, especially, for example, if I am interacting with my patient and I'm noting down and not telling my patient that actually whatever you're saying, I'm just trying to note down the key points. The person can become confused that probably I'm doing my own work. That is one risk. Second is, I'm not giving full attention, because when I'm writing, I'm not able to give full attention. A lot of time when I talk to my husband, when we are discussing, okay, we have to do this, he will leave everything in between and he will go and get his notebook and he'll start noting down. And my flow of, speaking gets disturbed. I said, this is something very simple. We don't have to make a note of it. So if you think it is going to interrupt your interaction, then I think it is detrimental. Otherwise, I think if you're making a note of key point, but simultaneously, if you are able to pay attention to the person who is speaking, it serves the purpose. There's nothing wrong in noting down. There's nothing wrong in it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay. So going ahead, as I said, the first one is attentive listening. Second is asking open-ended questions. So this is again a practice that comes with a lot of practice. Because one, we have a habit of sharing information or providing information. Trust me, more questions you ask, and especially if you ask open-ended questions, you honestly get a lot of new ideas. This I have experienced myself also. So therefore, I always try asking questions to you, because when you all give answers, that gives me much more than what I have with me. So if you want to facilitate a program, especially with the learned audience, ask open-ended questions. Have we discussed the difference between open-ended question and closed-ended question? We have discussed.
Yes.
We have discussed. Yeah. So every time you ask a question, when they answer may not be right exactly what you are looking for, because you know the answer, you have read it somewhere. Audience is there to listen, or participants are there to listen and learn. So their answer may not be exactly what you're looking for, but they tried to answer. That has to be appreciated. So acknowledging the answer and appreciating the attempt is very important to encourage them to participate, to encourage them to answer. So second skill as a facilitator, we have to remember, ask a lot of questions. More questions you will ask, more alert your audience will be. Third point that will help you is create a safe and supportive learning environment. See, in your audience, even if you go by law of 80-20, have you heard of law of 80-20? Pareto's law? Have you heard?
Yes.
Some of us have heard, some of us, it's okay. I can repeat it. So Pareto was an economist. He gave this law that 80% of the economy is in the hands of 20% of people. And this law is universally applicable, almost across the world. But later on, it was found that this law is applicable to many other spheres of life. Even in your audience, you will see 20 to 30% of the people would be participating. The rest will be either quiet, or will be shy to answer, or may not really have that confidence. Will my answer be okay? Will it be all right if I ask this? So that means, as a facilitator, it's our responsibility to engage all our audience. So creating safe environment where people feel I can ask anything, or even if my answer is wrong, nobody's going to make fun of me or say that this is something, nonsense. That's the responsibility of a facilitator, to create that psychological safety of the audience. So how do you think we can do that? How do you think we can do that?
Make them talk.
Make them talk.
Share their experience.
What all can you do as a facilitator?
Even when they make a
Make
mistake,
them.
even when they make a mistake, don't make fun of them, or say that, okay, you are partially right, rather than saying you're totally wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is always some element of truth, something that the person wants to communicate. which probably we have not understood or which is not exactly matching the answer that you're looking for. But acknowledging and appreciating their answer is very, very good way to encourage them. Then,
Group activities, if you divide the audience into different groups,
yeah,
they're speaking with the group. So often people
open up.
that open up.
Oh, wonderful. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Share their experience, giving them opportunity to share the experience.
Asking everyone to share their experience and making sure that everybody participates. It's not just the one who speaks, but others also should participate. So that means sorry, somebody saying something?
I think we should start first with simple thoughts to, make them feel, relaxed to be a part of the whole group. So rather than starting off with big things, high funda stuff, start with small things and then you grow together.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good idea, which I was about to cover in the training format. So that's very right. Whenever you start, you should always start from basics. So people feel that, okay, I know this. Because taking them from known to unknown, they start becoming comfortable. And it becomes easy also to adopt to the unknown. But if you suddenly start with a very hi-fi, concept, people will feel, oh, I don't understand and I will not understand. Then they will get withdrawn and they'll go to shell and they will not participate. So we have to do a lot of things to make sure that everybody feels psychologically safe and we have an environment where people are supportive, to be with each other. So as you have already mentioned, that encourage participation and engagement, ask everybody to answer and make sure even those participants who are not answering. So you will see sometimes calling you by name. The reason I call you by name is because I feel, oh, you are not answering, enough number of times that I want you to answer. So therefore, I would call your name, not to target or point out to anybody, but to just make you comfortable that I want you to participate. So ensure their psychological safety. Like, for example, even if their answer is not okay, don't make fun of it, don't snub them. See, here, of course, we will not do that. But tomorrow when you will be doing your training, say, for example, for your nurses or for your, technical staff or technicians. So they will give wrong answers. They will fear that if I give wrong answer one, some people will laugh at me. Second, you can also snub them. That don't you know even this one? So they will fear. So very, very, carefully you have to give them that assurance that you are not going to be laughed at or nobody's going to, make fun of you. So watch their non-verbals. You will get a lot of idea about how they are feeling in the group. This is one thing that you can establish right in the beginning. Ground rules, group rules. So when you have these ground rules right in the beginning, so everybody gets to know that they have to participate because that's the only way to work together. You have to also tell them that please speak for yourself and be mindful of others. So this is a kind of a message for those who probably would speak more often than others. So it's a subtle way of telling them that please, when you speak, be. So for example, here we have all doctors. Tomorrow, maybe you are doing a program where you have doctors and nurses and maybe other healthcare. So there is a possibility that somebody might say, nurses do like this. Nurses might say, oh, doctors do like this. Or resident might say, okay, consultants do like this. So we have to clearly tell them that you have to be mindful of others and be respectful of others. And then also conveying a message that, see, we all have experience, but we must give chance to others also to speak. So everybody should get a chance to contribute and speak. Another important thing is confidentiality. If you reassure and reiterate that whatever we discuss will stay here and we will not take this outside this room. So it kind of gives them a feeling that, okay, we will not be kind of taking this information out. You have to also remind people that when they give feedback, they have to talk about plus or positive first and then, some weakness that you want to point out. Because we all have a tendency to find fault. So we have to remind everyone that we are not here to find fault, but we are going to focus on strength and stay non-judgmental. Then, as I've been saying right from the beginning, trust takes time. It needs to be earned. So we really need to give time and take time to form that trust. So when you establish these rules, you will kind of communicate a message that, okay, we are all here to learn, and the purpose is not to find fault, but to learn from each other. Another important skill that will help you is managing group dynamics. A lot of time you will see the group can get divided into subgroups. So keep an eye on the direction of the group, handle subgroups carefully, because if you're not able to manage, there's a possibility that the whole program can, go haywire. Then there can be disagreement. Very smartly, we have to learn to handle those disagreements without getting personally affected by it, but also controlling the situation as a seasoned facilitator. Then even during discussion, during question answer, pick your battles carefully, because some people would ask questions just to derail or to upset you or to, kind of make you feel uncomfortable. So you have to be very careful when you are, picking your battle, because you can't argue and fight with people. There will be disagreements. So whenever there's a disagreement, we don't have to immediately negate by saying that, no, this is not right. We can ask others to give their opinion. So maybe what the person has said, we kind of repeat and say, is this what you are trying to say? The person will say yes, then we say, okay, let's ask others, what do others say? So when others would give their point of view, and this person would get to know that nobody is agreeing with me, automatically the disagreement will get, corrected. Rather than you confronting the person, you ask people to kind of give their feedback. Now coming to some of the techniques that will help us in facilitating our program effectively. I think make sure that you use some ice breaking and warm up activities. So this is something that we really have to be very creative in finding. And really you have to start your session in a very, very impactful manner. It could be an ice breaking activity or something where you are able to take their attention. As I said, asking open-ended questions, asking Socratic questioning helps engage them, think creatively, think critically, reflect on themselves. Brainstorming and mind mapping. So give them a situation, ask them to brainstorm, and ask them to, think what happened, why this happened, what could have been done. So that's another good way of engaging them. Small group discussions, especially when you're doing a physical setup, divide them into smaller group, give them an activity, let each group do something. So automatically everybody will get will start participating. So for example, for Maulana Azad Medical College, when I do my Calgary Cambridge Guide training with them, I would give them, a situation where they have to conduct patient interview or collect some information. So initially what we used to do, we used to divide the batch of 30-35 students in 3 batches, in 3 subgroups. But then after a while, we realized that only few participate out of those 10 to 12 students in each cell. Rest will just be disengaged. So what we did, we kind of broke them into smaller groups. So that means each group had only 3 members. So automatically one will become the doctor, one will become the patient, and the other one will be attendant. So automatically each one will get started, you will get to participate. So make the group as small as possible so that they cannot stay disengaged. Role plays and simulation are very good way of engaging them. Of course, collaborative working projects or activities. These are all very good, ways to facilitate your program. Make sure that you integrate these things in your facilitation. 1 second, there's a message in the, yeah. Okay. Dr. Rakhi has asked, please elaborate Socratic questioning. So Socratic questioning is basically done with the idea to let people critically think about a situation. Think about a situation. So for example, something happened and we have an opinion about that. But if you really want to, if you want your audience or your participants to look at other aspects also. So when you ask this question, what do you think could have been the reason for this? Why do you think he did this? What could have been done in that situation? So what you are doing, you're just giving them questions to find out what, why, how. And when people start answering, you start having new perspective to the same situation. We have a tendency to look at a situation from only our point of view. But when you ask these questions in a very objective manner, you're opening that person's mind. And that's the way to, make them think in a more objective manner. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So, as I said, some things that will really help you in doing your program well. This slide we have seen earlier also. Please make sure before the program that your physical setup and sitting arrangement is proper, because otherwise it will take away a lot of time just to make arrangements. So even on the day prior to the training, if you can have everything in place and start your training on time, I think that will save you a lot of time. Sitting arrangement, I would say it's preferably always good to have people sitting around a table. So maybe 4 or 5 people in around a table. So that way, if you're having say 30 people, you can ask for 7 to 8 tables. And on each table, you can have 4 to 5 people. That's a better way than having people sitting in rows. So lecture theater is not a good idea. It's always good to have people sitting together, across a table. And also tables where you can actually move in between and go up to the last table and connect with the last one. Because as a facilitator, you should be doing a lot of movement. You should be going to each and every table and physically and being close to them, because that will build your connection with your audience. Things like whiteboard, projector, audio-visual system, very, you again make sure that it is working. It is in place and it is working, especially when you want to show videos. If your audio system fails, the whole video will get waste. Name tags is a very good idea to engage with your audience. So a very simple name tag that I normally advise. So we have a cardboard kind of a thing, simple chart paper. So cut that into more like visiting card size and ask everybody to write their name in capital, which can be readable at a distance of almost like 10 to 15 feet. And they just need to pin it on their left or right shoulder. If they are wearing, name tag, and when you call them by name, trust me, they'll engage more. So make sure that they have a name tag either on the left or the right shoulder, and this name should be readable. That will help you. Having a wall clock is a very good idea so that you can keep an eye on the time and what material you need to cut down or you have to add, because a lot of time we will have more material than the available time. So you need to keep an eye on the wall clock. It should be preferably facing you rather than the audience being able to see, because if they can look at the watch, they will always keep an eye. Oh, it's lunchtime, it's tea time, it's tea time. You should be able to see things like water facility, tea, coffee. I think that we all know, but make sure that these things are available. Then other resources, like if you're planning to use some flip chart or some stickies, handouts, all that should be ready and in place. This I think we have covered last time also, but I just thought that we need to reiterate. Now coming to the preparation for this session. So there's a rule called 10:1. What exactly it is? What exactly we mean by 10:1? Guess, even if it is wrong, it's okay.
Student teacher ratio.
Sorry, one by one.
Student teacher ratio.
Okay, good guess, but that's not the thing that I had.
If we prepare 100%, we can deliver only 10%. 10:1 ratio.
Okay, another good explanation. But it's coming closer to the answer. Yes, Dr. Asha, I think you wish to say something. Go ahead.
If you wish to give 1 point to the audience, you should have prepared at least 10 times the description of that point with you before presenting that.
Okay, again, very close to the answer. What I exactly meant by this was, especially if it's something new that you are going to work on, you really need to invest 10 times the time, 10 times the time of your session. For example, if you are going to do 1 hour training, it requires 10 hours of preparation. With practice, if you have done a lot of programs, then it may not require that much time. It may be maybe 3 to 4 times, but If you will do 10 times the preparation, you will see you will be thorough with your content. It will appear as though, I mean, you know it and it's coming from your heart. Especially looking at your notes, it kind of gives them a feeling that, oh, you are just reading it. So I always say, make your preparation very, very well, because your audience is constantly observing you. So allow 10:1 ratio, especially if you are a beginner. Then know far more than you will ever use. You may not use the whole thing. Almost like I say 3 times more. Because you never know, your participant might ask you something that you probably will not think that, okay, this is something somebody is going to ask me. But you really need to be thorough with your content and at least know 3 times more than what you're going to deliver. Please anticipate that all activity will take longer than planned. Role plays, we think 15 minutes, no role play can be done in less than half an hour. Because when the discussion starts, you start enjoying the discussion and you just get, you forget about the time and then you realize, oh, it's already 30 minutes. So all activities take much longer than what you think it will be. And then plan mentally for both smaller and larger than the anticipated group. A lot of time you will think, okay, I'll have around 30 people. You will see there are only 5 or 7 people. Or you thought that, okay, there will be only 30 people and there were around 100 people. This can happen. This will happen. And this has happened a lot of time with me. So mentally, if you are flexible, if you are okay with it, you will not get disturbed. A lot of time when you will go to do a program, they'll say, okay, they are all nurses. When you go and see, oh, that's a mixed group. Or they'll say they're all doctors. And then it'll be a mixed group. So you have to be mentally, really ready for it. So that kind of mental preparation has to be done in advance. Now, coming to the training format, that means how can you really plan your training? So some of you have already mentioned about it. For example, if I talk about the sequence, somebody said simple to complex. Start from simple and then build on it and take them to a complex concept. For example, if you want to, teach a surgery student a surgery, they have to first learn to, suture a clean lacerated. Once they have practiced it, then they know, okay, I know the basic, now I can move further. So it's always good to move from simple to complex. Another way of designing your training could be concrete to abstract. For example, if you want to tell them something abstract, SOP, for example, standard operating procedure. How many of you you have written or you have an idea about SOP? How many of you have an idea about SOP? Those who are into quality implementation, they will be familiar. Can you write your SOP for any procedure independently? I can see some heads nodding. That means some of you can do it. But many of us have no idea. So when I go for a assessors program or I do a training for the, a hospital. So when I ask them, do you know how to write SOP? They normally say, no, we don't know. Because in most of the hospitals, they copy paste. Unfortunately, we copy paste, we pick up from one hospital and we just change the name and we put it. But being able to write SOP is very important, because if we know what is SOP, then we will be able to implement also. So normally how I train them how to write SOP, I said, how many of you can make a cup of tea? So most of them will raise their hand and say, yes, we can make a cup of tea. How do you make it? So I'll say, okay, we'll take a pan, we add this much of water, then we put it on the gas and then we let it heat and then we add sugar and tea leaves and whatever ingredient. So I said, can you write this down? They can write. I said, you have recently written an SOP for making a cup of tea. So now can you write an SOP of dressing a wound? Or can you write a SOP of starting IV, fluids? So that's how you have to really take them from, concrete to abstract. Similarly, in your, training programs, even if whether it is about communication, you have to really take them from, concrete to abstract so that they understand it. Then from known to unknown. Any example for this? Anybody knows? From known to unknown? Or can you think of any example?
And say, tell about a complication of the, just ask them what are the complication of the procedure. Probably they will say initially a few, then later something may not be known to them, which we can explain later.
Very good. That's a very good idea. Because again, you're asking question, make
Ma'am, you're mute.
Ma'am. Ma'am's not mute, she's stuck, I think.
Net.
Her net issue. We'll wait.
Everyone's dinner is after that. Or you are having in between.
I'm hungry. I think Paul went and had your dinner and came.
I didn't go. I switched off the video and had something to munch.
What I was thinking is
Let us come.
yeah, okay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Sorry, I don't know how I lost connection.
Yes.
Okay. So I was giving an example of taking them from known to unknown. So you ask them, how do you wash your hands? So they'll show you some steps, and then you tell them, okay, these are the right ways of, so you tell them. This is the way you can plan your program or session, so that you can ask what they know and then build on that and take them further. There are more training formats also besides this. Give me 1 second to start sharing these slides. It's not loading, no?
It's showing loading.
Yeah, it's just showing loading. Yeah. So I think this we have discussed already.
Yes.
Yeah. The other could be when you are actually, for example, helping them learn something. So there you can, the steps that you will follow is you tell them what needs to be done, show them how to do it, and then let them do. For example, in role plays, you tell them that this is how you need to deal. Then you can give them a demo. Okay, this is the way to do it. And then you can ask them to practice and then give them. You could even change the order. For example, sometimes we ask them to do. When they do, they get to see what we have not done it right. And then you show them how it can be done differently. So these are different, Yes, Dr. Paul, go ahead, please.
Madam, we were discussing on known to unknown. And the last, that slide, that was not discussed. Just after that, what previous slide?
1 second.
That was the hand washing.
Yeah. Like I said, in known to unknown, if you ask them a question, okay, how do you wash your hands? For example, your nursing staff or your sanitary staff. So they will show you how they wash hands. But definitely if you can make out that, okay, these are the steps they are not following, and then you integrate those steps, they will know the right way of doing it. So you're taking them from known to unknown, something they know already, and then you want to teach them something So, for example, if you want them to learn handling uncooperative patient part, so you ask them, how do you handle? They will share some way of doing it. And then you teach them, this is the right way of handling. You have taken them from known to unknown. Does that answer your question, Dr. Paul?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So this is another training format where you tell them and then you show them how to do it and then you let them do it. Maybe in show them, you could show them a video of how to do it and then you make them do it. Okay. So now we are going to discuss about the basic presentation structure. We all know that there is a beginning, that there is a middle, a part of the presentation, and there is a closing of the structure. But one part that I want you to focus on is opening is very important, that we're going to discuss shortly. Message is very important. Third part, which we normally miss, is evidence. So whatever message you give them, if you are not able to give them evidence, your message does not go seriously. So integrate evidence to your message to build credibility of your message. And then of course is closing. We all know that opening and middle part and the closing part. But each part has to be prepared very, very carefully, because opening has its own role to play, closing has its own role to play. And of course, message is something that you want to really impart to them. So make sure that you make an impressive opening. So what are the different ways you are presently using to make an opening of your session? Can you write in the chat box, or if you wish to unmute, whatever ways you are okay.
With the story.
Okay, with the story, that's a good idea.
The case presentation.
Sorry?
With an evidence, like a case presentation.
Okay.
Or what has happened.
Okay, anecdote you can say, or some, okay. Yeah.
Quotings, from quotings.
Some quote, yeah, I can see, yeah. And I can see a couple of answers in the chat box also. Startling statistics, yes, that's a very good way of, opening their eyes. Okay, I didn't know this. Then taking a scenario, yes, Dr. Deepa, again, some incident that you have personally experienced or you have seen. When you share them with them, they become suddenly engaged. What other ways? Storytelling, you said. Video is one good way.
An activity, an ice-breaking activity.
Ice-breaking activity, that's another good way to start with. So what ice-breaking activities are you using right now? Can you tell me?
Once in the concern scenario, any experiences which they can, in groups, they can talk about the experience.
Okay.
If it is a
small group, yeah. I can see one more answer in the chat box. Start with the importance of topic. Yes, but the idea is, if you can do something that would suddenly capture their attention. So that's what I'm trying to tell. Yes, case vignette is another good idea. Basically, again, when you're sharing a case, they don't know what this case is. They have no, the curiosity automatically,
Start with a question.
Yeah, they become interested because they want to know what exactly happened. How did that end up? So that becomes very interesting. So one of the ice-breaking activities that I often use when I have a full day program, not for the short program, but for a full day program, and especially when I know people are sitting with their own, familiar friends, they are comfortable. Sometimes we have mixed groups, doctors and nurses. Doctors will be sitting on one side, nurses will be sitting on one side, and they will not mix. They will not sit together. So to break that, what I normally do, I would have slips in one hand, which will have all the questions. And I will have slips in the other hand, which will have all the answers. Questions are very simple. For example, who is the Prime Minister of India? Or who was the first Prime Minister of India? Something like this. So I would give questions to one set of, participants and answers to another set of participants. And then I'll say, okay, you have questions and you have answers also. Find out your partner who has the answer to your question or question to your answer. So naturally they will get up and they'll try to find out. And then I'll say, okay, now sit with your partner. And now the next task I give them, okay, I give you 3 minutes time, take each other's introduction, and then you will introduce each other and you will not introduce yourself. You will introduce each other. So see, one day now I have mixed the group without making them aware that I've actually mixed them. And then when they talk to each other, they get introduced to each other. Automatically, they get to know each other. And from there, I take them to see building rapport is not difficult. You met each other for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and you know now each other, and you are familiar and comfortable with each other. So that's the way.
The problem is,
Sorry.
The problem nowadays is that when we give talks, there will be about 6 or 7 speakers. We are given a time of just 20 minutes to 25 minutes, maximum 30 minutes.
Yeah.
To bring in all this, it becomes very difficult. You have to talk about the matter. You have to. No.
Exactly. That's what I said, sir. I said right at the beginning that only if I have full day session, then I would do something like this. Otherwise, I would not do this. Then, like for example, we did the ice breaking activity where I said, okay, introduce yourself in 1 minute and tell something special about your name. So we did that activity, if you remember, in the first session, and that kind of broke the ice. There are many good ways which will not take much time, but of course, in a 20 minutes time or 30 minutes time, you cannot afford to, do ice breaking like this. So I recently had gone to Udaipur to do a program. So I had to talk to them about work-life balance. So I said, everybody, I gave them tissue paper. I didn't want to waste the thing. So I gave them tissue paper. I said, hold this tissue paper in your hand. I don't know if I should be using, yeah, I can do it. So I said, okay, crush it, hold it like this. So everybody did with full. I said, no, straighten it. Make it as straight as it was earlier. Everybody said, no, we can't do it because there are a lot of, marks on it. I said, this is life will do to you if you will not look after yourself. And your session begins. So you have to be creative in finding this. I had to talk about a child with, issues with adolescent age group. So again, I collected some items, 10, 20 items from there itself in the one. So I said, okay, I want one of you to come out and I want to, do an activity with you. So I threw one object initially. Then I threw 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 objects in one go. Naturally, that person cannot catch. I said, this is what is happening in the adolescent's life. Because life is throwing so many things to that child.
Yes.
The child is completely confused. What do I do? Where do I stand? So you have to be creative. And that way you add humor, you add fun, but there's a message. A lot of time, another activity that I often use it, that I ask them, okay, what is the objective of this program? You all have come with a very planned mind. Okay, we are going to learn master trainer program. But a lot of time, even in IIM Ahmedabad, when I go to do a program, the participants are very senior doctors, consultants. I ask them, okay, what is the objective of this session? They'll say, we don't know, because they don't know. They have not even checked who is the speaker, what is the topic. I said, okay, come out. We'll do some interesting activities. So I'll ask them, how many of you like window shopping? So most of the people would, raise their, okay, I like window shopping. Okay, then I'll call out one of them. I said, okay, come out. I'll say, okay, you like window shopping? Let's both go window shopping. Then I'll take them to 2, 3 participants who are sitting in front of us. Assume that we are in a mall and they are selling something. Somebody's selling a bag, somebody's selling watch, somebody's selling some item. Let's go to them. Okay, they go. I go with that participant. We'll go to 2, 3 shops, but we will not buy, because in window shopping, we don't buy anything. So we will just come back, and then I'll say, okay, now we have come out of the mall. And suddenly you realize you left your phone and a bag in one of the shops where we were seeing something. And oh my goodness, you have lost it. Let's go back and find out. Then we go. And then I say, okay, now ask the shopkeeper to see if that bag is there or that phone is there. So naturally, if you have lost something, your way of asking will be, you'll be more interested. I said, when you come to a program without knowing the objective, you are window shopping. Never go window shopping. You have come for a program, you should know what is the purpose. Who is the speaker? What is the topic? What concerns I have about that topic? And then that seriousness comes, okay, we have to. So I've given you a couple of examples that I use. I would suggest find out new ways. And I really enjoy doing some activity in the beginning because I know that will connect them with me. Then my task becomes easy. Does that help? Let's see what other ways can be used to, to make the impressive opening. So you should clearly know how you're going to open your session, actually have it in writing. I still write in my notes what am I going to ask or what am I going to say. Don't trust that I can manage. I tried this a couple of times and I thought, no, I know my subject well, I can do it. I made a mess of my session. So never go unprepared. You should know what you're going to say right in the beginning, what is going to be your opening dialogue, what do you intend doing, and then practice it so much that it looks like a natural act. Other person should feel, oh, you were thorough with your, but that will only happen if you have done a lot of practice in the background. One of you said, make a startling statement. Like, for example, every year 250,000 patients die because of medical errors in US. We haven't done any study in our country. I don't know if we did, how many people will be able to identify. So naturally now people will be interested. Or you could also give an interesting quote. Somebody said this, the biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Actually, it has not taken place. Then show them an interesting picture and ask them, how many faces can you see in this picture?
So many faces.
By the way, how many figures can you make out? How many faces?
1, 2, 3, 4,
3.
9.
Huh?
3.
9. No,
How many?
1. Wait, 1, 2.
What do others say?
3.
4.
4.
4.
Is it?
Yeah.
I could see only 2.
No.
No.
4. 4.
Oh my
1,
God.
2, 3, 4.
Take a screenshot of it and then can you separately point out which 3 part are you talking about? Because for me, I could only see 2.
2 for me.
One
too.
On
for
top
lady
you
and
can
one-
see on top you see the small one.
Yeah.
And
this
lower
one,
down you can see
this
Yeah.
one.
1,
Yes,
2.
yes.
Then the big one, the 3.
Yeah.
Cap.
This is the old lady smoking.
Old
Yeah.
lady is a young girl.
And this is a young
The
girl.
young guy.
Young girl.
Young
Oh,
girl.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Now you see, if you did this in the beginning, automatically your audience will get engaged. And then you can take their attention to the actual topic. You could even share an incident that you saw and you were startled. Or you could share your experience of your visit to a place and what you saw and what exactly happened. So these are different ways you can, or if you give an impressive, the statistics like Dr. Menon was saying, that if you share them, for example, this is the latest one from NHS, that these many surgeries went wrong, or these very foreign bodies were left in the body during the procedure. So automatically people will become interested in listening or seeing whatever you are showing. So that's how, make sure that your beginning goes well, because the well begun is half done. Presentation part, please remember, people do not remember the content. They'll remember the experience. So make sure that you create multiple experiences, experiential learning, and they will remember it more. So doing role plays, doing self-introspection activities, they will remember more about it. The format of presentation, make sure that the segment, the total session at a stretch is not more than 90 minutes, preferably, because if it is too long, then it becomes difficult for them to stay engaged. Build activities in each segment so that there is a variety. Include visuals and hands-on opportunities. Give them a chance to stand, sit, move around. Provide opportunity for repetition and reinforcement. and then also project enthusiasm, confidence, and encouragement, because that's there. That's if it's not there, you will lose your audience. Okay. To ensure participation, you can actually, like this was also suggested by one of you when we were discussing, you could vary the group size. So sometimes you can give an activity which covers the entire group. You could actually do an activity where you involve people sitting across the table, or you could make them, 3 people at a time. You could even pair them and do an activity. So if you will keep changing the, group size or the interactive interaction size, you will see that they will stay active and engaged. You could even approach, you could vary your approach. So for example, you could ask Socratic questions to provoke, brainstorming or critical thinking. You could also ask them, to think and write something. So you are asking for some creative thinking activity, role plays, case studies. These are the ways to keep them, engaged. Then you could even vary your activities. For example, you could use quiz, flip chart, reading, demonstration, reports. Even recognition can be different. You can ask everybody to applaud. You could actually ask everybody to congratulate or whatever way. But the idea is that when you thank them, when you applaud them, you appreciate them, they feel encouraged and they appreciate. So these are the different ways to ensure participation of your team member. Providing evidence, as I said earlier. So what are the different ways you provide evidence in your programs or in your sessions?
Statistics.
Okay, statistics.
Studies.
References.
Studies.
References.
References.
Studies and articles.
Studies. So providing evidence is very important. That builds credibility of your session. So various forms of evidences can be used where you provide them with facts and figures, data, research report. See, after whatever you have written and under this, if there is a star mark and you have written some name, they know that you are bringing about some study. So they have a confidence that what you are saying is not just because you are thinking like this, but there are studies that prove that point. Exhibits like newspaper cutting, pictures taken on site that helps improving your point. Demonstrations, when you give them demonstration or when you make them do role play, skits, videos, illustrations, all that will help them. Okay, no, we don't know. That's also a new learning for them. And then examples from personal experience and analogies that help in providing evidence. Sometimes testimonials and reviews given by people also help you to build credibility of your session. Okay. So once you have executed the fourth part is closing. So closing is basically to summarize. So how do you close the session normally? What are the different ways that do you think we can use to close the session?
You summarize
messages.
Take a message.
So one is that we have the points written on the slide and we say, okay, to summarize 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is the other way?
Take home message.
Take home message. Ask your participants to give one take home message. Or what else?
Questionnaire.
Questionnaire also can
Feedback.
be. But then questionnaire will again become more of a passive closing. What we want is that we want them to take it home. And what other question can you ask them?
An optimistic notes.
Sorry?
Reflections.
An optimistic.
Okay, self-reflection, okay. Or suppose if you ask them, out of all this, what are you going to apply? Or what do you think is easy to apply? Or what do you think will be the challenges you will face in applying whatever you are learning? So people will come out with what their apprehensions are or what their challenges are. So summarizing can be when you ask them to, talk about, when you ask them to repeat the important message that they have learned or their takeaway, or you could even throw a challenge at them. Okay, try this and let's see what challenge you have or what difficulty you have. The idea is that they should ultimately go back with some, takeaway to apply or to practice. Now, certain tips that will help you to, be a successful facilitator. Please remember, if you are not enthusiastic, if you are not passionate, if you are not committed, you will not be able to execute an impressive training. You are the engine of your train. You have to have a lot of fuel within you. Especially we know initially there will be a lot of ambiguity. There will be a lot of confusions. Be patient, be tolerant, stick to the program, stick to the agenda. Usually people fall in place. They get to trust you with time. But you have to have a lot of patience to start with. Being trainer, you may be visiting a lot of new places, new experiences, new audience, new facilities. You have to be open-minded to those things. If you really want everything to be your way, then probably you will not get it and you will not be able to execute your program well. So be open to the idea that there will be new opportunities, new experiences, new people, and be flexible for that. Cognitive and behavioral flexibility, sometimes audience is very participatory, sometimes they are not, sometimes they may have some doubts, whatever. But if you are flexible, you can adjust with those things. But if you are too rigid, if you are too demanding, if you want everything in a perfect manner, you will have difficulty getting everything. India is a vast country, and we know people come from various socio-cultural background. We need to be sensitive to it. We need to be respectful to their practices. I mean, and we need to make sure that throughout the program we respect their whatever their position or their cultural background. Empathy and compassion. I think a lot of time what we tell them, we don't realize what challenges they are facing in their work position or work setup. But we normally think they are not doing it, they are not interested, they are not interested to learn. We have no idea what is happening in their life. So we really need to be more empathic and compassionate with them and demonstrate that. Honesty, I think there is no replacement for it. If you are not truthful, ultimately people will lose trust in you. I mean, like there's a saying that you can't put a wooden utensil on fire twice. Same way, if you are not trustworthy, your audience will not. And for that, you have to be a good role model. So what you teach, you have to practice. You have to actually demonstrate. A sense of humility, because any arrogance, any kind of misbehavior, disrespectful behavior can ruin your program. So you have to remember that humility is the only way to connect with your audience. Sense of humor, it's a very interesting, useful skill if you have it, but very few people can handle it well. But if you can use it, it can connect you with your audience. I was just listening to Sudha Murthy's interview at Kapil's show.
Yes.
I mean, somebody had forwarded it to me. So today, at the airport, I was watching it. I was, really floored by her sense of humor. But she's at such a position, whatever she says, that's so, beautiful. Only thing is, the lesson that I learned from her talk was, she didn't make fun of anybody. She made fun of herself.
Herself.
Yeah. So sense of humor is have courage to make fun of yourself. Admitting that, yes, I failed. Admitting that, yes, I did not know this. Admitting that, yes, I did not do well. It's a big thing. People will be floored by your simplicity if you are able to use this in your favor. But we have to make sure that we don't, make fun of anybody or embarrass anybody. This is one skill, I think, which we have to constantly, keep in our pocket, and that's personal awareness. Knowing what are my weaknesses, knowing what are my hot buttons, knowing my own, vulnerabilities, because that's the way I can improve myself. I can make myself better. So personal awareness, there is no substitute. You have to continuously walk this journey. And the best part is it refines you. It makes you a better human being. So it's a wonderful virtue if we can acquire. Okay. So we have 10 minutes time. There's a lot to be covered. What I will do, okay, I'll stop sharing first. Okay, anybody has some interesting experience to share? Anybody? of your facilitation where you really did a wonderful job. You came back very happy. Anybody has any experience to share?
I didn't get you. What is it, madam?
I will repeat my question. So if anybody is willing to share your experience where you facilitated a program and it went very well and you were very happy, I would like you to share your experience.
Yes, I want to.
Okay. So Dr. Rafi, hold on. So I'm going to put you in the waiting room for 2 minutes. Just go through the thing that you want to say. Okay. Give me a second and I'll bring you back. Okay. So you all have to act like a disruptive audience. So how will you do that?
Interrupt her while she's talking.
Okay.
Yawning.
Okay.
Talking loudly on our own phones.
Okay.
Unmuting ourselves.
Contradicting.
Unmuting and background disturbance.
Okay. Unmuting.
Contradicting her statements.
One by one, please.
Looking somewhere else.
Okay. Looking somewhere.
Talking to each other.
Talking to each other.
Yes.
Contradicting her statements.
Yes. Countering her statement. So whatever you have said, you can do it.
You can laugh.
We'll apologize. We will apologize.
This is 1:50.
Yes.
So I would say only 5 of you should do.
Rakhi will be shocked otherwise.
I'm bringing her in.
10:1.
So Dr. Rakhi, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So please go ahead with your experience sharing.
I have a inkling that Indu ma'am has told all these people not to have any emotion, not to. Okay.
Not
to show any interest. Okay.
Not audible. Can you repeat? Not audible.
Okay, no, I said I have an inkling that Indu ma'am has already injected into you all not to laugh, not
That is
to
assumption.
fight.
That is assumption.
No,
That is
no.
assumption.
Conclusion.
You are assuming things. You are assuming things.
Assume like that.
They're jumping to conclusions.
Maybe, maybe her previous experience, the last experience of storytelling.
Exactly.
I promise I have not said anything.
So I'm that cat who has fallen into hot water. Okay, so that's it. So let me start by saying that it was a Women's Day. Okay, so my family.
Women's Day.
This year.
Actually, it is Mother's Day, no? Mother's Day.
No. It was last year. Last year, Women's Day program.
When was Women's Day?
March 8th, ma'am. So questionnaire is on actually. Yeah. So basically, my inside
No, what's
me.
wrong with the So what's the update on the patient now?
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Can you call me after some time? I'm in a meeting right now.
Yeah, and very, very important segment of the meeting is going on. Okay, more important than even Indu ma'am. Okay, so I'll tell you. So this was Women's Day, and I was called to say a few words. Okay, in Aster Mims Hospital, Kottakkal. Okay, so that is where I hail from, and there was.
You have to be brief. You have to be very brief.
Okay.
Yeah, you told that already.
Okay. So wait. So basically, I am a aspiring stand-up comedian. Are you all shocked?
You are aspiring. That is why.
Exactly.
Extreme.
Obviously,
Sorry.
obviously.
So
You're already a-
you won't believe it, ma'am. You won't believe it. I made a presentation of my childhood with my parents. I can, actually forward it to you all later. Okay, so it is with my parents because my parents and I'm born of a consanguineous marriage. I hope everybody knows what
Actually,
consanguineous marriage are.
Can I have my food, please?
What?
I'm very hungry. Food, no?
Okay. It's already time. Yeah, so that's it. So basically, I really enjoyed that talk. I was given like around 20-25 minutes, and I had this presentation about my family.
How many people laughed?
I think everybody laughed, and I had a great time. And I was telling my husband, I think I should take up to be a stand-up comedian, like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I don't know how many of you all have seen that.
Look at this.
Oh, hi. Is that Coco? Hello,
No.
Coco. How are you?
Okay, I think we should clap for Dr. Raki. She persisted.
I know. She's so difficult to be irritated.
So, Dr. Raki, hats off to you. You really maintained.
Congrats. Congrats for standing up.
Excellent.
But just now you had that taste of disruptive audience. And actually, we have to be prepared for it. A lot of time, not that they will disturb you, but they just remain quiet, or they don't give any expressions. They don't give you any feedback. They are listening, not listening, interested, not interested. And you're just going on and on and on. And that's very, sometimes very disturbing also. So I want to now take you to the last segment of the session, and that is handling disruptive audience. Thank you, Dr. Raki. I think you did a wonderful job. Thank you. Very quickly, in 5 minutes, we will cover this because I know it's dinner time for all of you and it's already 10 o'clock. Okay. So we can
90 minutes is over.
Yeah, I know. And I knew that I'm saying 90 minutes and you will say that she herself takes 2 hours. But this is a specially designed program for all of us. If I did 1.5 hours, then you will have to attend 15 programs, 15 sessions. So therefore, I kept the time as 2 hours. Okay. So we can actually categorize these, disruptive behavior into 3 categories. One is the low degree. When we say low degree, you will have people who are daydreaming, who are just not, having the right body language. They'll give facial expressions where you can make out they're not interested, but verbally they will normally not say anything. They will not participate. They will stay, withdrawn, or they will be using cell phone, or they may be doing something, on paper, busy with their work. They may enter late, they may leave early, but they will otherwise not disrupt you actively. So this we can actually call as low degree of disruption. Of course, as a trainer, you will always have an eye on them. You will be disturbed. You will not be able to ignore them, honestly, because we have a tendency to look at a person who is not listening or who is not interested. But that's the reality. But there will be people who would do like this. In online program, they'll keep their camera off. I mean, in spite of all reminders, they will not listen to you. I can see some answers in the chat box. What exactly it is? Okay, what is it? Okay, enjoyed it. Okay, everybody is appreciating Dr. Raki. That's true. I do. So this is still called a low degree of disruption. The moderate degree will be where actually they will verbally try to, kind of show distrust or disagreement. They will interrupt you. They will have conspicuous attention to other work. You can make out they will open their laptop and they're working on it. Especially, for example, if they are their colleague or they are senior to you, you will not be able to directly ask them to put your laptop on. To your junior, maybe you can say, they will never do that. But usually your colleague of same age or same position or your higher up, there's a possibility that they may do something. Or there will be people who will do sidebar conversation. Person sitting left to them or right to them, they will start talking to them. Or they will constantly be passing some sarcastic comments, which you can make out that that's not in a good taste, but you cannot actually exactly know the words, but you know that they are doing something fishy. High degree of disruption is where they actually display this, aggressive reactions. They may dramatically exit from the training venue. They may threat you or to the other participants. They may even pass, very sarcastic comments openly on something that you can actually hear. You can exactly know what exactly they are saying. So these are the three basic categories you will come across. We can put all of them under these titles. One is talkative, people who comment too often for very long and they will dominate the discussion. You will always have one or two people because they know the subject, they are doing it or they have an idea about it. So they will be very often, trying to comment and say you something. How do you go about handling them? Recognize their contribution and then thank them and then move on to the next person. Sometimes you can actually target the question to a particular participant by calling their name so that you actually are telling that, okay, let this person now take a chance and try to answer. In a physical setup, avoid making eye contact with the person who does more of the talking and look at the other person when you're asking a question. So automatically that person will not get a chance to, start speaking. They'll only speak when you will make eye contact. And if you don't make eye contact, they will keep waiting for you to, look at them. And then sometimes when they are talking, the moment they take a pause to take a breath, you can say, thank you so much, and then you can move. So these are different ways I can suggest you, but you can find your own ways. You will definitely have 2-3 people in a group who will be doing, a lot of talking. The other category is interrupter. So interrupters are people, they want to either agree or disagree or make another point. So again, if they are interrupting too often, it will be difficult for you to continue. Then you may also lose track of time. You may also not be able to cover the content because they will engage you and they'll take you, into some discussion and then you will lose on time. So the best way is actually to make an outline of what you are going to cover in these 1 hour or 2 hour or 3 hour sessions so that they clearly know, okay, we have already passed 1 hour and we have not even covered the first point. So how will we cover the rest of the 8 points? So they should know that, these points need to be covered in this much of time. Second way is that right in the beginning, if you tell that, please hold on to your comments and questions, we will spend last 15 minutes discussing your questions. So in a clear way, you have messaged them that, okay, we will not take any questions in between or comments we will not take in between. You can actually also engage them to complete an interactive learning activity so that they stay busy. In a physical setup, you can ask them to, complete a task which actually helps you by keep making them busy. For example, ask them to enter the responses. So if you have a whiteboard or a blackboard, you make them stand there and make them do the entries or the scoring. So in that way, they will stay busy and they'll kind of interrupt you less often. The third category is chatterer, people who would actually be doing a lot of talking, but usually it will be a sidebar talking to people who are sitting next to them. So what happens, not only they get disturbed, they disturb the people sitting left and right, and even people sitting at the back also get disengaged because they are not able to hear you very clearly. So again, it's very disturbing. It stops the disturbs the flow of your session. So one of the ways is that you could actually, tell them, okay, are you discussing something interesting? Why don't you share with the group? So you are kind of telling them that, okay, you are disturbing, but that you are saying in a very subtle manner. Another way is stop what you are doing or what you are talking and just look at them for a couple of seconds. When everybody will become quiet and then they will see, okay, nobody's talking, even the facilitator is not talking, that means there is something wrong. And then they realize, okay, it's me who is doing the disturbance. So mostly that also helps them understand that they are not playing their role right. Or another way is restate your point and ask them to contribute. So you are trying to engage them. Again, you will have some people who will always be doing some talking to the people sitting next or left or right. There are people who would be, arguer. So maybe they know the subject very well, or they don't agree with you completely, or they try to just correct you and find some fault with what you are saying. So again, people like them can disturb you, especially, if they are of your level, or maybe, in hierarchy, if they are above you, it can be disturbing. How do you handle them? Acknowledge their point and thank them for contributing and move on, because that's the way to, shift the focus. Second could be find merit in what they are saying, express your agreement, and then move on. Again, you are kind of saying, yes, I agree with you, you are right. And then that's another perspective. Third is paraphrase whatever they have said, and then ask the arguer to explain in their words. So a lot of time, if you think the comment was not in a good taste, you ask them, can you explain what exactly you want to say? So they become conscious, okay, now I have to explain my point of view. So they become uncomfortable. Next could be, you could pass that on to the group and ask them to comment. Do you think what he's saying is right? Do you agree with him? So that's another way of kind of letting him know that his point is not supported by others. Silent types, people who don't speak, who don't participate, they'll be just sitting there and they'll have a poker-like face. They will not give you any feedback, any expression, any hint of what they are thinking, what they are feeling. It could be actually if they are feeling shy, they are feeling insecure, they are uncertain, they are confused, they have lack of confidence. It could be anything, but they are not participating. So having one or two people like this, it may not disturb you. Of course, you will be actually looking at them quite often than not, but then they don't disturb you. But if a lot of audience become like this, then it can affect your performance and also the flow of your program. The strategy that will work with them is ask them a question that you think they can answer. So that way you can engage them. Or you could ask a question and you could ask everybody to answer, but don't start from them. Start from others. And then when their turn comes in, mostly they start opening, because when they see others speaking, they also get that courage to speak. And then whenever they kind of respond, appreciate them, applaud them, and that's the way to engage them. Another category which you often see especially in the younger age group, is enthusiastic, electronic device enthusiasts. They'll always have a phone in hand. Very often they will see their Facebook, their WhatsApp, their Instagram, and then they can also disturb people sitting on left and right. But how will you deal with them, by the way? How will you deal with them?
All phones in silent mode before starting of the meeting.
Okay.
You
But
can-
their phone
you
is
can
silent. Their phone is silent, but they are on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can collect the phones.
Huh?
You can collect all the phones and
Dr.
keep it in one place.
Net
Dr.
connection, jammer can keep them.
You go with a tray and collect all phones. And that will be
back to all of them, no?
and then that will be an activity afterwards to recollect it back.
There'll be so
We'll
much
send a startling message to all the phones.
Any other interesting idea?
Startling message to all the phones.
ask them questions.
Actually, see again, when you try something like this,
Ask them to Google and find out some answer.
that's interesting. Okay. So maybe if they are a younger age group, you can clearly, reiterate the ground rules that we need to follow, that I request everyone to keep their phone, so that you interact in the class. You can set your expectation to them, but have strategy to engage. I think that's the only way. Ask them questions, make them do activities, make them participate. So naturally, they'll have to keep their phone aside and they'll have to participate. Sometimes if one or two people are not agreeing, I think you have to ignore and move on, because of them, you can't disturb your session. There will be some adamant people who will not listen, but there's no point becoming, being after them. You will actually be derailing your program. So sometimes you can also ignore. To quickly summarize, if your audience is, not behaving the way you want, don't take it personally. Sometimes we get upset. My program is not good. My session is not good. Of course, you need to reflect, how can I make it more engaging? But you don't have to take it personally. Avoid arguing, because if you'll get into argument, it will, it can go to any level. Plus, audience can unite and can derail you. That's not a desirable thing. Again, try some empathy, because a lot of time when we recommend something, it may not work in their situation. So you really need to keep in mind that you don't know what their situation is. And then when they say something, listen and search for a grain of truth. There's a possibility that the reality is very different from what we are thinking. So this is briefly about facilitation skills. Any questions about it? I know it's 10
If
minutes.
your audience, most of your audience are looking at their watch, constantly looking at your watch, you know that your session is not going the right way, or you have not been able to be impressive.
So reflecting on your, content, pedagogy, that's the way to refine. That's the way to refine. At least when you will go back, visit your session, you will definitely know what I could have done differently. And next time, definitely you will have a better way of handling it. Anything that I've left that you think could have been part? Yes, Dr. Paul, go ahead, please.
I wanted to ask before itself about the 7 levels of listening. That one of this is interruptive listening.
Interruptive. Do you want me to?
Explain it.
Let me. Okay, yeah.
Interactive, one is interactive. And one
Interpretive.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. One is
What is the
interpretive and one is
difference?
interactive. Yeah. So interpretive is when you're going beyond just paying attention to what really is being said. Maybe you're trying to get more information in the same. You're trying to interpret it. And interactive is where it is a two-way listening. Yeah. Where you ask questions to clarify.
Okay.
Should I stop sharing?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So I will be sharing the feedback form either tonight or tomorrow early morning. I request you to give your feedback by tomorrow. And anything that you think I have left that needed to be covered in this, I tried to cover almost every aspect, but
are we supposed to go through the, how do we keep in touch with what we have gone through? Are we getting, you said they won't be sending the PPTs. How do we form an idea?
YouTube link is there.
Recording. I'll be sharing the YouTube recording. That's one thing. Second is I'll be sharing the list of topics that you have to pick from. And we are left with 6 sessions. So 5th session onwards, we will be doing presentation. So 3 of you will have to present in each session. I will be, it will be good if you all pick on your own the topic and also when you want to present. But in case if I don't get the responses, I'll be sharing that tomorrow morning. If I don't get responses, then I'll be writing your name in front of session 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Normally on the last day, I don't like to keep session because there'll be other things to be done. But if you pick on your own and you decide that, okay, I will be presenting in the next session, you have to make the presentation not very long, just 4 to 5 slides, that's all. So pick up one pedagogy. Like for example, you pick up storytelling. So you have to tell what storytelling is. First, give us a taste of storytelling. So tell a story that you think most of us have not heard. Then you say, okay, I've introduced you to storytelling. This is where you can use storytelling, advantages, disadvantages, do's and don'ts. That's all, 4 or 5 slides. Total 7 to 8 minutes presentation. I'll be sharing the list of the topics. Pick up one topic, choose the date, but I request that start from the next session itself. I'll share it tomorrow morning. Early morning, I'll share it with you. And if I don't get the name, then I'm going to write your name and you will have to make the presentation. But before the presentation, you have to share the presentation with me and speak to me for 5 minutes. We'll get a chance to interact one-on-one.
Time limit is time limit.
Sorry?
Time limit.
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
And slides also, you said first day 4 or 5.
4 to 5
Five.
slides. That's all.
The different possible pedagogies, do we have any session covering that? What are the possible, I mean, we have used just 1 or 2 methods of this thing. Other
So
methods,
So Dr. Asha, the whole idea is that when each one of you will be presenting, others will get to know 14 pedagogies. Somebody will talk about video, somebody will talk about PPT, somebody will talk about storytelling. So rather than me covering, you will be covering, you all will be covering.
So the topics will be the pedagogies.
Yeah, pedagogy. Oh. Yeah, pedagogy.
Okay. Pedagogy. Right.
That's the idea.
Yes.
That's the idea. Okay. So I'll share the feedback form. And one more thing, how many of you have given your reviews on Amazon for the book?
You're not finished reading it.
You want to finish reading and then give?
Otherwise it won't be a sincere feedback.
Oh my goodness. Then it will be, how long will you take?
We're going through that. I just got it yesterday, I think. So going through it, we have to complete it. Otherwise, we won't be doing justice to it.
I would request you to read, few pages, you will get a taste of the book.
I finished 1 chapter just, so finish that and then.
I think that should give you some idea what do you think about the book.
It's packed with information. Packed with information, I'd say.
Thank you. So I would request each one of you to give your reviews on the Amazon. I think next session I'll keep 10 minutes for asking you to write your. You have to sign in actually, and signing in is something we are very poor at. We think, oh, we'll sign in for Amazon. I will do that. We'll keep 10 minutes for that next time. If you don't do it. Thank you so much. I think I'll not hold you further. It's already 10:20. Good night. Take rest. See you next week.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.